Hey everybody. Well, the Green Bay Packers absolutely dominated the Seattle Seachickens last night on Sunday Night Football, defeating them 30-13. It was the first time the Green Bay Packers have won in Seattle since 2008, and it completes the sweep of the NFC West. So, we will get right into it. Jair Alexander, of course, not playing. That was the big injury news. Other big news, Romeo Doubs was back, and so was Edgerrin Cooper, and both of those guys had fantastic games. We'll start, of course, as we always do, with the offense. We'll start, of course, with Jordan Love. He was 20 for 27, 229 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Another game with no interceptions and no sacks on Jordan Love. The offensive line playing very, very well, giving Jordan plenty of time to be able to sling the ball all around the field. Jordan, again, just playing perfect football. No mistakes, playing smart. Exactly what we need from him right down the stretch. Toyotathon Jordan Love is in full swing. On the rushing side of things, Josh Jacobs, 26 rushing attempts for 94 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. He also had 4 receptions for 42 yards, and unfortunately did have 1 fumble that was more late in the game, where the Packers were trying to pretty much put the final dagger in the Seachickens. Unfortunately, coughed up the ball. That is, I believe, his second fumble of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Jayden Reed also finally getting involved. Wow, we found Jayden Reed. It only took us a couple weeks. Jayden Reed, he had 3 attempts for 27 yards. The jet sweeps and stuff like that, working for the most part for the Packers. On the receiving side of things, Christian Watson was our leading receiver. 3 receptions for 56 yards, and also had in my opinion, the second best catch of the game, where he was kind of on the sideline and toe tapped for a grab, I think early in the game. Big gain, great awareness by Christian Watson of knowing exactly where he is on the field and being able to keep his feet in bounds for a great reception. Romeo Doubs, 3 receptions, 40 yards, and 2 tutties. Obviously, Romeo Doubs coming back after missing 2 games due to a concussion or being in concussion protocol. Came out wearing the Guardian cap, which I do think the Guardian cap is kind of lame, but I'll give Romeo a pass this time. Just this once. I don't want to see it next week, otherwise I might make fun of him. But super happy for Romeo coming out, playing ball. And Romeo did have probably the best catch of the week by far in the back of the end zone. 5 minutes left in the game. Packers finally putting the final dagger in the Seachickens as Romeo Doubs makes a spectacular catch, grabbing the ball right before it hits the ground in the back of the end zone. Just perfect hands. Best catch I've seen possibly all year. That's up there with the Tucker Kraft diving catch. The last time the Packers wore all whites against Houston near the beginning of the season. So spectacular work by Romeo Doubs. Jayden Reed, of course, also getting involved again in the passing game. He had 5 receptions for 34 yards. So it's nice to see Jayden Reed kind of getting involved again. Tucker Kraft, I believe, only had 1 catch. So it is like I've been saying week after week, is that at least on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball, it seems that the Packers continue to have a rotating players that make huge impacts and have big games. This week it was Romeo. Week before it was, Christian. Or, it's been happening all season, and I anticipate it to happen all season. Tucker Kraft not really involved this week. Maybe next week against the Saints he gets involved again. So that's what I really love, and I've been saying this all season. That's what I love about the depth of the Green Bay Packers, both on offense and defense. On the defensive side of the ball now, the defense is really what shined in this game and really made it pretty much a one-sided game for pretty much the entire game. Edgerrin Cooper is my personal player of the game. Was absolute baller this season. This guy is going to be so much fun to watch. as his career goes on. 7 total sacks for the Green Bay Packers this week. 7. Edgerrin Cooper, we'll start with the sacks. Edgerrin Cooper, he had a sack. Rashawn Gary had a sack. Carl Brooks had a sack. Devontae Wyatt had a sack. Brendan Cox Jr. had a sack. And Kingsley Enagbare had 2 sacks, and they were both on the same drive. So the Packers pressuring the quarterback and getting him down. They dropped Geno 3 times, and they dropped Sam Howell 4 times. More stuff from the defense. Edgerrin Cooper had 7 total tackles. He had, I think, 2 tackles for a loss. He had his first career interception late in the game. Carrington Valentine also finally got his very first interception. He had a play where he looked like he was about to get an interception and unfortunately dropped it. I think it was in the very next play he finally gets the pick. So the defense the pressure was spectacular. The coverage was great. They stopped the run game for the most part. Charbonnet only had 54 yards. He did get it in the end zone. Let's take a 20-yard run around the edge. It was late in the game. The game was, for the most part, kind of done already, but at least for me as a Packer fan, with the PTSD we have from Seattle, it got a little scary for a minute, but whatever. And Brandon McManus also used 3 for 3, so he's still doing exactly what the Packers need him to do and brought him in to do. Just be perfect from the field goal. I believe he's 14 of 15 now on the season since coming into Green Bay. We'll look briefly at the Seachickens. Geno Smith was 15 for 19, 149 yards, and an interception. That interception was to Carrington Valentine. He was sacked 3 times, ended up leaving the game with what I guess now looked like an ankle injury at the time, but I guess now it's a knee injury. So hoping for a fast recovery for him. Obviously, you never want to see anybody go down. So unfortunately, he went out during the game, which ended up kind of making it easier for the Packers because then Sam Howell came in. Although Sam Howell, when he was in Washington, was a fairly good quarterback. Sam Howell came in and he was 5 of 14, 24 yards, and he had an interception late in the game. That was the one to Edgerrin Cooper. He was sacked 4 times, and the pressure that they had on Sam Howell was just spectacular. He really had no chance to do absolutely anything. Their leading running back was, like I said, Zach Charbonnet. He only had 8 attempts, 54 yards, and the 1 touchdown. JSN was the Seachicken leading receiver, 10 receptions for 83 yards. Tyler Lockett was a non-factor in this game. He actually ended up leaving the game at some point with an injury. Hope he's all right. I don't really remember what happened with him. DK Metcalf completely uninvolved, which is great. And then Ernest Jones, he did have that forced fumble where he punched the ball out on Josh Jacobs and did cause that turnover. Other than that, that's the highlights for the Seachickens. The Seachickens did nothing on defense except for kind of stop the Packers a little bit later in the game, but their offense did nothing. This was a Seattle team that came in this game winning 4 straight coming off of their bye and did sit in first place in the NFC West, but now the Rams have taken that over since they now own the tiebreaker, but we'll get into that. Looking at some team stats, time of possession, the Green Bay Packers did win the time of possession, 32 minutes, 58 seconds to the Seachicken 27:02. The Green Bay Packers had 21 first downs, the Seachickens had 14. On third down, both teams struggled on third down, especially the Packers. In that third quarter, early fourth quarter, Packers were 5 of 12 on third down. Not great. Really not great. You really want to work on that. Last week against the Lions, they were 1 of 5. So again, struggling on third down. Seachickens weren't any better. They were 4 for 13. Fourth down, the Packers were 0 for 1. Again, on short fourth downs, I get why you want to go for it. You want to extend the drive, and you kind of want to run the clock out, blah, blah, blah. But why are we running it out of shotgun up the middle on 4th and short? They know exactly what we're doing, so don't do it. The play calling by Matt LaFleur in the second half of the third quarter, early fourth quarter, not great. And he did come out and actually did take accountability for it, which I was happy about, because we all saw it, we all know he was doing it, and we were just wondering, why are you doing it? Not understanding that. Seachickens didn't go for any fourth downs. They were 0 for 0. The Packers ran 61 plays compared to Seattle's 56. Penalties. Packers had 5 penalties for 27 yards. The Seachickens had 5 penalties, but for 108 yards. A lot of those, I think, 2 deep defensive pass interference. I believe they were both on Watson. So Watson doing a good job of drawing those defensive pass interferences. And from what I remember, I've seen defensive pass interference called on less, so I don't think there's really any arguing of, was it defensive pass? It was. I mean, it was. But either way, it's not something that would have turned the game, tired of the game at all. Red zone efficiency, the Packers 50%, 2 for 4. Would like 4 for 4, would like a 4 for 4, would like perfect, of course. Seattle was 0 for 1. The only time they got in the red zone, Geno Smith threw an interception to Carrington Valentine. The Packers putting up 30 points for the 4th straight game, and I feel like the Packers left about 14 to 21 points on the field. Not being able to finish off some of those drives does kind of suck, but as Packer fans, I heard this on the radio, as Packer fans, we expect perfection. We expect the Packers to, every time they have the ball, to go down there and get a touchdown. And it's just not fair of us to think that, but we do demand and we do want it. So we do kind of feel that the Packers are struggling a little bit when they're not getting in the end zone every time, when in reality, they're doing a good job. They're doing a very good job. So, looking ahead, the Green Bay Packers are now 10-4. They now have a 99% chance to make the playoffs. They can clinch a playoff spot, I believe, on Sunday, but we don't know those scenarios 100% yet. But the Packers would, of course, clinch a playoff spot if they defeat the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football in Lambeau. The Saints coming off a loss to the Commanders, almost coming back and winning, but they did lose. They did go down. The Saints really kind of struggling a lot this season, but they've been able to stay in some games. So the Packers will play them Monday Night Football. And then for the Seachickens, they are now 8-6 and are now in second place in the NFC West. Rams, like I said, Rams take that over, and it seems like a week 18 matchup between Seattle and the Rams might determine that division. But Seattle, they got a rough road. They got the Vikings next week, and the Vikings clinching a playoff spot, because the Packers did defeat the Seattle Seachickens, which does suck. Of course, as Packer fans, we're very happy that the Packers defeated the Seachickens in Seattle. The Packers exercising some demons there. Unfortunately, with the Packers winning, it did clinch a playoff berth for the Vikings. But I mean, the Vikings would have made the playoffs anyway. They would have made it tonight. Because they did beat the Bears pretty handily. So, either way, whatever. But the NFC North technically still up for grabs because the Lions lost to the Bills on Sunday in what could be a Super Bowl preview if the Packers don't get there. A Super Bowl I'd be happy with if the Packers aren't in it. With the Vikings winning, the Lions losing, Packers winning, the NFC North is still in play. The Packers can technically still win the NFC North. It is a big, long shot because the Packers would still need the Lions to lose out. And the Vikings... No, wait, now that I think about it, I don't think the Packers can anymore. Because the Vikings did win tonight. So either way. It seems like the division is going to be either between the Blue Kitties or the Vikings. It kind of... I think it's a flip of a coin. The Lions dealing with even more injuries on Sunday, and the Vikings are they're playing well, and of course beat up on a crappy Bears team. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, Packers have 3 to go. They now play the Saints at home on Monday night, then go to Minnesota, and then have a home game against the Bears. Of course, the Packers more than likely will lock up a playoff spot this next weekend, making the Vikings and Bear games a little less stressful and already basically being locked into a playoff spot. So, very, very happy with the Packers defeating the Seachickens last night in Seattle. The Packers were saying that it felt kind of like a home game because there were so many Packer fans there. So taking over Lumen Field is a tough thing to do. Winning there is very tough. It is a very hostile environment. But the Packers get it done with a fantastic performance. Hopefully it carries into next week and the Packers can clinch a playoff spot. But until then, I'll see you guys later and go Pack Go.